Hi Malur, good morning.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you so much, Malur, for joining me today on today's episode of video series on our book Get Your Next Promotion. I would like to thank you once again for sharing your amazing story for the book. For the purpose of my readers and viewers, Malur is joining us from USA, Texas. Malur Narayan is Vice President in TCS and currently leads the Technology Business Unit in North America. Prior to this, reporting to the CEO of TCS, he worked across the entire breadth of TCS technology and business experience to benefit the Tata Group companies. He's a proven technology business executive, having distinguished himself through his broad business experience in telecom. Malur is an eminent speaker on international business and has spoken at various forums, including EMBA program at Cornell University, Queen's University in Canada, IIM Ahmedabad, and Imperial College London. Malur is also engaged with a lot of startups as a mentor, and he focuses on social impact. He is known for his positive attitude and great sense of humor, and is immensely passionate about running and music, and seems these two things go together for him. Thank you, Malur.
Hey, thanks, Manvi. Really appreciate you having me on this interview and call.
I would also like to share with our viewers that you can read Malur's story in the eighth chapter on topic of creating visibility and personal branding. Malur's personal journey brings out a lot of nuances about this intriguing subject we have. And I'm sure you all can get many insights that you can apply in your own life. Malur, to start with the conversation today, I'm going to quote a few lines from the book. At one point in the story, you recall that one of your managers, Steve, telling you that you can do great things, but unless you tell others, you would not be noticed. When did you start realizing that the brand building is an important part of growth? Maybe what are some of the suggestions can you share with the readers of the book and viewers here on building the brand?
So, early on in my career, when I was a software engineer at Bell Northern Research, those days it wasn't really called brand building, but
Yeah.
it became apparent that, you can do great work, but your great work has to also be noticed and seen by others, right? Um, and I was very fortunate to have some excellent managers and excellent bosses throughout my career who were all not only encouraging but also promoting good work and always looking to see how if someone's doing a great piece of work to promote them, and that just carried on in my own career as well. But my advice to most of the people up and coming professionals is that focus on your niche, right? Figure out what you're good at. uh, you're not going to be good at everything, so focus on the things that you're good at and then make that, do an excellent job at that, and that
Mhm.
automatically becomes
Yeah.
something that people notice. And
Yeah.
then you've got to tell the people about it. Of course, these days you have so many different options to broadcast your information, the way that you do your work in social media and all of the various
Mm.
channels you have. But the most important thing is to do the great work and build credibility, and once you do that, it becomes genuine and people notice you automatically.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
You don't have to try too hard.
Yeah. Uh, I love what you said. Excellence. Do the
Yeah,
great work. Yeah. Yeah. Those are some of the important points. I agree.
and communicate. Do
Yeah.
great work and communicate about it.
Yeah. Communicate about it. And as they say, perception is a reality, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So, coming towards this pandemic, Malur, how do you see the pandemic affect the world of promotions?
uh, See, I think the pandemic I see that as a great opportunity, for people, because it's
Mm-hmm.
sort of like having the world reset right around you.
Mm-hmm.
For years, including myself, we've been going great guns. We've been following a routine and just going from one thing to another without taking a breather.
Mm.
Now people have a great opportunity to step back and reflect on the most important things in life,
Yeah.
both in terms of career, both in terms of profession, as well as your personal life, right?
Mm.
So it's a fantastic opportunity to reset yourself. And more importantly, from a professional perspective, it gives you an opportunity to learn new things. Things that you may have had an aptitude for and have an interest in, but you never had the time, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's a skill, a hobby, whatever it may be. Now
Mm.
you can take that, and then when you have 3 or 4 different interests,
Mm.
somehow they all converge, and you're able to bring it out together in all walks of your life, including at work.
Yeah.
And that makes you a much more well-rounded person. It
Yeah.
also gives you other career opportunities. You just because you chose a career at when you were 25 years old or 22 years old
Mm.
doesn't mean you're going to be doing that for the next 40 years. I mean, those days are gone.
Yeah.
uh, I've heard so many people who have reset their careers, and I myself, if I go back 25, 30 years, uh, if I had the right guidance, I probably would have, been more likely to be an entrepreneur or a startup. Um,
Yeah.
you know, that's the age when you're able to take risks.
Mm.
So the pandemic, in some ways, gives you a lot of the opportunity around resetting yourself and finding new skills.
Yeah. 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 It's good time to reset. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Continue on the same topic, Malur. I believe that many people actually miss the mark on brand building in usual circumstances. I mean, when I was in corporate, I never focused on my brand building. And now, when people struggle with remote work, a lot has changed at work. And of course, the diminishing visibility also. How does one take care of their personal brand in today's work environment, which is remote mostly?
Yeah. See, I think more than ever, it's very important to communicate.
Yeah,
Uh, Now that everything is remote,
yeah,
your the people that you have influence over are not able to see your work, right? So it's important to continue to do the good work that you're doing, and also influence and create influence and communicate that.
mm,
You do that by reaching out to different people outside your own current sphere of influence, uh, continuing to network, because at the end of the day, uh, people buy from people hire people that they
mm,
know, ideally. So
mm,
building relationships is probably the single most critical thing
mm.
in the overall in your career.
Yeah,
It's a skill you can learn, and it's a skill that is extremely valuable, and that
mm,
helps build a brand as well.
yeah,
Um, so use the time to reach out to people, do a video call, do an audio call,
mm-hmm,
uh, write blogs, write articles, write white
yeah,
papers,
mm-hmm,
uh, on topics that that you're passionate about and you're knowledgeable about, and
mm,
that's how you create influence.
yeah, yeah, yes. Great. Thanks for sharing that. So let me bring in another aspect of growth that you have touched in the book. So I'm going to read out few set of another lines. You said, Malur, forget about titles. You will not get too far if you get hung up on titles. Titles means nothing, and these days they are dime a dozen. Anybody can be chief of whatever. So what you really need to worry about is what function or what role do you want to perform. So, what is the right way someone, especially the mid-level managers, should look at their growth into executive levels?
Yeah, I think moving from mid-level to, and I have a lot of people who ask me that question, right? How do I
Mm-hmm.
become
Yeah.
executive? So, I mean, obviously, there are a few things: getting executive presence, having the right perspective.
Yeah.
Always having a strategic perspective is helpful. Um, Sometimes you can get too bogged down in your work, in the details, in the everyday things, but you lose your strategic perspective. I think the difference between being at mid-management level versus a C-suite executive
Mm-hmm.
is strategic perspective you bring to everything, right? Being
Mm.
able to look at it from multiple angles
Mm.
and multiple scenarios, and that comes from a lot of it comes from experience,
Yeah.
but also it comes from taking a step back and thinking strategically and reflecting on what how you would uh, how you would act in a situation if you were the, let's say, the CEO of a company or the
Yeah.
senior VP of a particular business unit. So you have
Yeah.
to put yourself in those shoes and say, what are the key things that are important to that person, to that role, and how you would act in that situation. And
Yeah.
as long as you're doing that, you always, people are going to see you in that light as well.
Yeah.
The other thing to look at is also to build the trust and credibility with people.
Yeah.
Right? And when I talk about influence, it's really what that's about, is building the trust and credibility with different people in your organization, both within your organization as well as your own network, right? So,
Mm.
I mean, those are two separate things, but
Yeah. Mm. Yeah. That's right. So it's all about the impact basically somebody is creating, right?
correct.
Yeah. Yeah. So Malur, as we are, we spoke about pandemic. What is one thing about leadership that has changed forever due to pandemic, and one thing that has not changed at all?
Well, you've seen, I mean, when you talk about leadership at the highest level, right, you've
Mm.
seen how different governments, different government leaders, political leaders across the globe have reacted differently, right? In some
Yeah.
cases, where you've seen it most effective is
Mm.
in places where they've been extremely decisive
Mm-hmm.
and have been consistent in the communication
Mm-hmm.
and in the decision making. And I think that is still very, very critical in all levels of society, all levels of business. Uh, Being decisive, communicating clearly, and being action oriented. Those are three things um, that still, that is very critical during crises.
Mm.
I mean, the pandemic is one crisis, but businesses go through that. Countries go through this all the time, and the most successful leaders are the ones who have been able to effectively communicate well and be very decisive in their approach. And those, I mean, the one thing that hasn't um, changed is still the if you look at what people need is still the empathy, right? The ability to build trust and empathy has always been a constant factor in leadership, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Leadership is
Yeah.
all about building trust and empathy, and the people the people that are following you are looking up to you need to be able to
Mm.
trust what you're doing,
Yeah.
trust you, and need to know that you care for them deeply.
Yes. Yeah. 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 And that's one of my favorites, empathy. I call it the human factor at work.
True.
Yeah.
That's very critical. In all
Yeah.
my entire career, the people that I've worked with, I worked
Mm.
for me, or I have worked for, it's always it's not always a professional relationship. I've always had that personal connection with everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for bringing that. Thank you, Malur. Thank you so much for joining me today. And thank you for sharing your valuable insights with my audience. And these were very helpful.
Thanks, Manbir. It was good talking to you.
Sure. My pleasure. Thanks everyone for watching this video. To read Malur's complete story and learn from other lessons he has shared, do get your copy of the book, Get Your Next Promotion. See you all again in the next video in this series. And also, do not forget to subscribe to this channel and click on the bell icon. Thank you and all the very best.